Welcome back to They Did What, your source for the internet's craziest and most entertaining stories, where I go over them, analyze them, and on occasion make fun of them. Today, going to go over an article titled, I Go to Swinging Parties with My Husband While the Kids Are Asleep. And guys, this article is written by a woman, the wife, and she's revealing the secret world of swinger parties, where she and her husband regularly partake in, doing all sorts of things you can only begin to imagine. And she shares this story about how it all started before they even got married. And normally, I've done a lot of stories, both here and my other channel, talking about how a lot of times it's almost always, in fact, let me rephrase it, always the wives or girlfriends that want to open up the relationship, open up the marriage. And often it's not for parties, but it's usually just for other guys, one-on-one type of thing. Here's a situation where, and those, by the way, always are doomed to fail, because she wants it, but he doesn't, doomed to fail. It's over before it began. This is a situation where both parties were into this lifestyle before they got together, and you're seeing where this comes about. And so it's pretty interesting, because you just never know, guys, what's going on with your friends, your families, your coworkers, your neighbors. It could be one of them at these parties. And you never know what's going on in your neighborhood. Your next door neighbor could be hosting one of these in their house. You just never know. Right? Very interesting. So I'm going to go through this, guys. It's definitely very revealing, very interesting. And you're going to see, by the way, a little twist here at the end dealing with the lady. Starts off, she says, I'm watching a Silicon Valley CEO being led around the room on a leash. His wife is in the next room where a jewelry designer is getting comfortable with three men who definitely aren't her husband. I'm part of the LA swinging community, and at these parties, anything goes. For a few hours, everyone can forget the stresses of juggling normal life and live judgment-free. There are couples who've come together and some who've come alone, though their partners are always approving. That was the appeal for me, the ability to explore my sexuality whilst also maintaining an open, trusting relationship. How did I get here? Well, I was 25 years old and I was cheated on. I'd always been a very jealous person, particularly in relationships. I'd go snooping through my partner's cupboards and scroll through their phone looking for things I didn't want to find, but found anyway. Well, she sounds like a fun girlfriend. I hated being this type of person, and when my relationship broke down, I swore to myself that I'd never let sex be the thing that ended a relationship. It seemed that the universe agreed, and around that time I decided to keep sex and emotions separate. I was introduced to the deliciously freeing world of swinging. I was living in LA when a married couple, let's call them Anna and Pete, took me under their wing. Most Sundays, Anna and Pete hosted lunch at their house. These were fairly boozy affairs, but I always left at a reasonable hour. I knew that most of the other guests stayed the night, but I never really thought much about it until one Sunday, Anna let me in on the secret. See, she didn't even know she was going to these gatherings, which she thought was just a Sunday afternoon, have some drinks, have some sandwiches, but it was just leading up to the main event. We were gossiping in the loo, and before I knew it, Anna was kissing me. I'd hooked up with women before, but Anna was married to my friend. It turned out that the cozy Sunday lunches were just the starter for an even cozier evening of partner swapping. All of these married couples with respectable jobs, they were lawyers, doctors, and tech gurus. They were having weekly gatherings. I'm not going to use this word here because YouTube's pretty sensitive about certain things. And then heading off in the morning to drop their kids at school. Jobs with long hours or a lot of traveling made it easy to explain nightly absences for the average Joes. Getting home to pay the babysitter was part of the thrill. I'd stumbled into a community where S-word freedom and emotional monogamy, everybody here was happily married and also happily sleeping with other people, coexisted, and it looked pretty great to me. Everybody's got to start these things somewhere. People are always curious how people get into these. This is an example of how it goes. I started to regularly hook up with Anna and her friends and had my eyes truly open to the world of swinging. The parties were every bit as hedonistic as you'd imagine. Alcohol-fueled, encouraging anything from bondage to group, you know what. I enjoyed the community, single and carefree for years until I met Joey. He was a party boy who had never been in a serious relationship before, so I decided to test the waters of being in an open relationship. There we go, the open relationship. But both of them are into that lifestyle. ahead of time, not in a relationship and getting into it. I knew it wasn't going to be easy, so we laid down ground rules to ensure that trust and open communication were at the foundation of our relationship. Casual hookups were fine, but you couldn't swap numbers or speak to that person again. If we went out together, we went home together, and you definitely couldn't sleep with somebody that we both knew. That was 12 years ago. We've been married for 7, and our don't ask, don't tell policy is going strong to this day. So here's a situation where it works for them, at least in the present moment, for 12 years. They've been married for 7 years, but they both were into the lifestyle. It ain't gonna work if one person wants to do it and the other person doesn't. And I think, like I said, all the stories I've done, it's always a woman that brings it up, and the guy usually goes along with it because he doesn't want to lose her. Then he finds somebody better that doesn't want this lifestyle, and it's a big mess. She wants to end it. You've heard many of them, guys. But this is the interesting other side of the equation. She says, from the outside, we live a pretty wholesome existence. Wholesome, huh? Now in Ibiza, when we're not working, she says, I'm a therapist specializing in post-trauma care, and Joey's a web developer. We spend our days hiking, swimming, practicing yoga, and foraging for fresh food. Oh, and we have 2 great kids. Man, those kids have no idea what's going on. Well, when those kids become teenagers, I guarantee one of them is going to figure it out. Well, there have certainly been testing times, like when I thought I caught feelings for the local bartender, and when I heard a rumor that the husband, tried to suck a friend of mine's toes at a party. For the most part, this arrangement has worked amazingly for us. Oh, so it's okay if he goes between another gal's legs, but God forbid he has her toes in his mouth, then it's a catastrophe. Says here, we have a loving, honest relationship, and sleeping with other people allows us to both to get our kicks that the other really isn't into. For me, knowing that I had this option to escape my normal life is, or certainly was, a really important outlet for me. Until recently, the kids have never held us back. We got involved with the local swinging scene soon after we arrived on the island. So, from LA to the island. This obviously is going on everywhere. When you know, you know. And as it's a much more tight-knit community than Los Angeles, there's more social interaction between the couples. I've been at a barbecue on the beach, and my husband and another dad have kissed when the kids weren't looking. It's not unusual to find your foot being massaged under the table at a family-friendly dinner. But these are specific friends for specific purposes. I have a whole other circle who have absolutely no idea what we get up to. Yeah, like I said, you just never know. Your friends, your family, your coworkers, your neighbors. You never know what's going on with people. That's why people are so fascinated by these types of stories. As the kids grow up, I've become less and less interested in going to the you-know-what parties, while Joey's interest has rocketed. I'm starting to worry that the more he goes out, the more likely it is that people will know from school, our jobs, and other social lives may start to put the dots together and suspect that we don't have what most people consider to be a regular marriage. Well, is it that, or the fact that she's not going out as much, but he's going out more and she's not liking that? Like I said, the only way these things ever seem to work is if both parties are 100% on board and participating equally and happily. But she's doing it less now. Maybe because she's getting older. Who the hell knows? Says here, I don't want to be the subject of island gossip for people not to recommend me for work because of my extramarital preferences. But I made a promise to myself that I'd always be in an open relationship. So even though it makes me nervous that he's playing around so close to home, it's something that I have to live with. If the mums at the school gate knew the truth about our relationship, I'm not sure they'd be so keen on play dates. I hope in the future that openness will be less taboo and I won't have to feel guilty about my life choice. But for now, I'm keeping my swinging hobby firmly under wraps. Unless, of course, you're interested. So guys, quick article there. I normally do stories, but this one was an article, and I came across, I thought it'd be a good one to go over because, again, this is the world. We're in Sodom and Gomorrah Part 2 nowadays, as I'm sure many of you guys are well aware of this. And so here's another example of what's going on behind the scenes. So it's definitely interesting. And you've seen me many times, like I said, do the stories about when the woman brings up the open relationship. And it's more about just her with another dude, not actually going to parties and stuff. But this is what we have here today. So, but I thought we'd go into cover. So anyway, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know, guys, in the comment section. You can be anonymous. Do you know anybody that ever participates in these things? What's their take on it? I'd like to hear about it. It's definitely interesting. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.